Anytime I walk into an audition, I am letting them know who I am.
Would you say the answer to resistance is authenticity?
When adversity came, I could have fell apart, but I chose instead to follow my heart. When adversity comes, I will never run, I will adjust, adapt, and overcome. Vision.
Hello, everyone. Welcome one, welcome all to your one-stop shop for everything empowerment. We're not going to get into the rest because what this is all about is empowerment. I am your host, Vision of Hope, but not only I am Vision of Hope, we are Vision of Hope. And we're so excited and glad to have all of you today to talk empowerment. But not only that, welcome you back to the Speak Your Vision podcast. And welcome a guest that we have here today or tonight, whenever you're listening or watching. If you're listening on YouTube or wherever you're listening, we're happy to have you. But we want to welcome model, actor, Reece Ford. Thank you for joining us today, Reece.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited.
Yeah, for sure. So we're loving the opportunity to talk with you, talk mindset, talk empowerment, and get to that deeper level, that those messages that people really need to listen to.
Let's do it. I'm so excited.
All right, excellent. So one thing really important here for us in this setting and for the audience here is language.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, we go into language and we define different words and we get to know the people who we speak with. And so I want to ask you, when you talk about where you are in your life right now and the different things that you've done,
Mm-hmm.
what are 3 words that you would say define how you got to where you are?
Ooh, that's such a great question. What are 3 words to define how I got to where I am? One, I would say, is precipice. I use that word a lot because so many times we don't know where we are. And I like to tell myself I'm on the precipice of greatness, because it's like, especially when I start to doubt myself, that's when I know I'm getting close. And
Okay.
so that's where I'm like, oh, you're on the precipice of something, because you're starting to really feel like you're not worthy, or what am I doing? When I start to question it, it's like, I'm getting close. I'm getting closer to the answer. So that's definitely one.
Okay. You hit us with the SAT GRE word to start. Love it.
Yeah. Yes, those 50-cent words. I would say the second one is grace. I really, really try to practice that because the entertainment world is brutal. And I can't take a lot of things personally. So I have to practice giving myself grace when I'm doing anything that I do, because sometimes it's the first time I'm doing it. So it's just like, if I didn't feel that it was good enough, or if I'm starting to question what I'm doing, I'm like, this is the first time. It's okay. You will have other opportunities. Or if I don't get a job that I really wanted, it's like, it's okay. That was meant for somebody else. Your job is. So I definitely practice grace. Wow. And the third one is routine, because
Okay.
without that foundation of a routine, I don't think I would be where I am, to be honest. I find that very important in my career, to have a routine of how I honor myself, how I honor my craft, how I honor those in my circle, friends, family, all of that.
Okay. Precipice, grace, routine.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I love that. And I'm definitely going to come back to those words. We're going to define them as we go on our journey of this conversation. I'm pretty sure when I went to my master's program and had to take the GRE, I feel like I got the precipice question incorrectly, but but it's okay. I love it. I think that brings it gives us a unique place to go to for our conversation and
Okay.
for the mindset that we're discussing here today.
Mhm.
So now when we're talking about the modeling and acting industry, where are you now and what made you get into the industry?
That's a great question. Where am I now? I would say I'm very much so, using this word again, on the precipice of expanding where I'm at. I would say I am in a good space where I still audition for things, but also I get emails just saying, will you do this?
Mm,
Um, which I am so grateful for. And I cannot say that a lot of people have that opportunity. If they do, that just know that that is such a blessing, because a lot of people aren't emailing you saying, I already know you know how to do this job and I want to pay you for it.
mm,
Um, and it's like this is the first time in my life where I am working full time in what I like to do, and it is
mm,
my bills. Which one day I met this artist and I told him I wanted to be an artist, and he was a classical drawer. And he was like, you'll know you're an artist when you can fully pay for everything you want in your life just solely by using your art. And I was just like, I can now say that. That's
yeah,
amazing. And so for me, that was really important. Um, where I started and why I got into this, uh,
mhm.
really, I love fashion. I love dressing up. I love dressing up just because it's Tuesday. And my
Hey,
exactly, like, I don't need a reason. I don't need a reason to get to look nice because I like doing it for myself. Um,
hey. Wait, hold
and
on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I need you to repeat that again for the people. Say that again, please.
I don't dress up for anybody else but myself because that's how I pour into myself. Is I like to look nice for me. And I really enjoy it. It's like I actually have a color coordinated week, so I wear certain colors on certain days of the week. And
Wow.
that's one, how I keep my closet organized, but two, it's just like how I show appreciation for myself through fashion. And yeah, it's so I started doing that. I come from a family of seamstresses, and so they would make our clothes, I would make clothes. I went to school and studied fiber art, and so I learned how to like dye and weave and sew even more than what I already knew. So that only just added to the tools I already had when it came to fashion and functionality artware, is sometimes what I like to call it.
Mm,
And I realized like people liked what I wore, people liked my style, and people were like, you should model. And I was like, sure. I don't know what that looks like, but I'll get in front of a camera and smile. And my
mm.
first modeling photo, I have it on my phone as a reminder of my humble, humble beginnings. It was absolutely horrible. Now I can say that now. It was cute. It was like, oh, that was nice. But
If you let us, we'll put it up on the screen somewhere. But,
stop.
but if not, it's okay.
I would definitely send that. But it
All
was
right, it'll be somewhere over there.
exactly. I will definitely send it because you know what? It is a humble beginning, and I'm very proud of that work, just as I am proud of the work I produce now. But I do look at it and I'm like, oh, I could have done so much better. But at the time, that's what I had. Those were the tools that I had, and that's what I did. And I was just always open to learning more. The goal was never to act, by the way. I didn't want to start acting or nor did I fall in love with acting until I moved to LA.
Oh,
But
okay. And it's so funny because when I talk about where you are now, you got
mhm,
into that mindset piece, that where you are mentally and professionally. When I was asking the question, I did want you to touch on where you are physically. So you're from Philadelphia,
yes,
and then now you're in Los Angeles.
yes,
Okay, go ahead.
yes. And so when I was in Philadelphia, I was around a lot of artists, photographers, fashion people. And I was just like, how do I start my portfolio? How do I do this? How do I do that? And they were like, you just need to get somebody who wants to take photos of you. You can be their muse. You can, And I found that somebody actually found me once I put it out in the world, like, I want to build my portfolio. He's now my friend, but the way it started was like, this guy's looking for you. Like everywhere I went, they're like, this guy is looking for you. He said he saw you were here on Facebook, and he's like, he wants to shoot you. And I was just like, when you hear that and you don't know who it is, you're like, what?
Yeah.
But he ended up being one of my closest friends and actually my personal trainer during my time there. And I have now a huge collection of photos. My confidence in modeling increased by the umpteenth 1000%. And then I had the courage to, it was now with what I had, I was like, do I go to New York or do I go to LA? And so I was like, I know what New York holds. I want to try something extremely different. Let's try LA. And it wasn't until I was working here that somebody was like, you should try acting too, because modeling already entails a form of that. So just take that into acting, and here I am now, also in LA.
So now you've given me a few different streets I could take with this conversation. Like I could go left, I could go right, go straight, or I could go in the fork. But I think it's neat. There's a few things I don't want to make sure that we lose sight of.
Okay.
Because you mentioned that sometimes people reach out to you for different projects. Now, when that happens, how do you establish your worth in those situations?
That's something that I had to learn the hard way, where I was so excited that they gave me a number. I just took it, not realizing I could have asked for more. And that just takes getting that L, which for me, a L is never a loss, it's a lesson. And it's just taking that lesson and applying it the next time. So then when someone asks me for my rate, knowing that I'm going to walk into that space negotiating, this is how much I want, this is how much, this is my baseline.
Right.
And I do have friends that if I know they're starting companies and things like that, like I don't mind growing with them and taking a pay cut. I will say that. I would say my rate for the most part is sliding scale, but I do have a base rate because I do know now, I know what I bring to the table when it comes to modeling. And it's just like, I deserve that.
Yeah, no doubt, for sure. You know, something that we talk about on the show quite a bit is the importance of knowing your self-worth. And that's why I wanted to get in that conversation, because in a daily life, like not only in our professions, but in our daily lives as we're going to the grocery store or whatever, like no matter what, we can't lose the sense of our self-worth, because just being real, the way life is, there'll be somebody to tell you what your worth is.
All the time.
And we just, there are things that are unacceptable, and that's one of them, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I agree, because this world, especially with social media, they try to tell us who we are all the time and what we should settle for, compromise for. And sometimes voices are so distracting. Like I said, in the beginning, I was just so happy I was being asked. I just took the money, not realizing I could be like, add another zero, please, and then we can talk.
Not realizing you're on the precipice.
Exactly.
Hey.
Exactly.
Not realizing you're on the precipice for greater.
Exactly. And that's it. And I actually did that recently, where I accepted an offer and then like they had to reschedule, and I declined the offer. And then they were like, why? And I said, oh, because I realized in the contract you said in perpetuity, I'm worth more if you're going to be using this whenever you want. So add another zero. And they were like, we like you. Okay.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
Exactly.
So now I'm gonna, go back in the car and turn down this other road here, because we're talking about self-worth. And this is an excellent transition, because you talk about the word confidence and building your confidence, right?
Yes.
Because you got interested in the industry here because of like hearing that it was a possibility in your colors and your love for art, and just recognizing that consistently, I would say, in different levels of your life, really realizing you're on the precipice of all different types of greatness.
Yes.
I bring this up to say this had to start from somewhere. So you talked about the word confidence.
Yes.
Was that confidence always there, or was that something that was built and then grew? What does that look like? What was that journey for you?
I would say I was a spunky kid.
Okay.
I would tell it like it is. I was very, and I still am very direct when I have something that I want to say. Um, and I knew I loved to sing. One of my favorite toys as a kid was actually that cassette player that had a microphone attached to it, and I would play like Michael Jackson and Prince songs and sing really loud for whoever wanted to hear. And that was me as a kid. I love like the Lion King soundtrack, all of it. And so for me,
It's the circle. Oh, sorry.
yes. And no, for me, I just can't wait to be king. That was my jam. And so I realized like those things brought me joy. And I, as a kid, I just wanted everybody else to feel like how I felt. And so whenever we had family functions, I was that kid that was like, can I sing a song? I sing a Leah back and forth, all of those things. And so as I grew older and realized everybody has a story and everybody wasn't given that opportunity, I was then groomed to try and give everybody that experience of like feeling seen, knowing they're confident. I had foster sisters and brothers growing up in my home. I helped mentor high school students with art and creating docu-series. And so I realized how much empowerment and confidence is needed in order to be the best version of yourself. Because if you're not confident, you're not going to know your worth. You're not going to realize you're on the precipice of greatness, and you're not going to grow. And so for me, and also you're not going to give yourself grace when these hiccups and these lessons happen. So for me, I was like, oh, in order for me to be the version of myself that I see, that I know for me, God sees, and whomever you believe in, like it's out there already. I have to catch up to it. I have to know I'm worthy and I'm able of achieving anything that I want. Because we see it all the time. We see this happen all the time. We hear stories about this all the time. Like all of these people who started businesses and careers in their garage with just an idea.
Right.
So that's where that confidence has always been in me, and it ebbs and flows. There are moments where I have to pick my ego up off the floor because it just feels like
please dive into that, because we're talking about self-worth, building that up. We talked about confidence and building that up, but yet so you still have to pick yourself up off the floor. What is that like? Tell me.
Oh my gosh. There are seasons in our life where you're not, it's going to be harder for you to believe in yourself than other seasons. And just like in certain seasons, like in the summer, you're seeing your crops grow, and in the fall you're harvesting, and in the winter you're not really harvesting much. There are certain things that you can pick, like apples or certain oranges, but it's like for the most part you're in a hibernation period. And we're in this world where being idle a lot of us don't know how to sit still and be at peace with doing nothing. Or for me, I learned that was a thing, like sitting still and giving myself the time to listen to myself was hard. And then there were times where I would just be triggered by something. In acting, in my acting classes now, that's something that my teacher really stresses, is like, I want you to be triggered because I want you to know how to handle being triggered. Therefore, when these things arise again, they don't hit as hard. And a lot of us are carrying around this imaginary baggage of protection is what we think it is, but it's really things we're not dealing with. And for me, especially over quarantine in 2020, since I had time to be idle, I had to deal with all of this baggage that I was just carrying. And it was crippling at times.
Mm.
But it let me know that there were new seeds I had to plant for a new harvest that was going to reap something new within me so that I could be, again, the best version of myself. Because
Come on now.
I'm not going to grow into anything. That is scarier to me than dealing with it head on and then using it as a tool. Because if you know yourself, and one of my teachers says you have to know in yourself, not just believe in yourself. You have to know in yourself, so then you can believe. And that's what I realized. Like, your ego's there for protection. You have to also know what you actually need protection from and what you can like work through.
And so, in other words, in recognizing your worth and your confidence that's been in your heart, that you've grown, and picking your ego up off the floor, in all those situations,
yeah,
you had to have that grace.
Had to. You better start preaching. I had to.
Come on, Pastor.
Exactly. Like, where's my fan at? I have a fan somewhere.
Right. Come on. Real quick. If you're a fan, if you're loving what we're talking about, you better hit that like button.
Yes. Like and subscribe. Thank you.
Oh man, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Yep. So we're talking about all these different concepts now. Okay. We're talking about worth. We're talking about confidence. And I would say this, on this journey, I think that word precipice is such an interesting one. And it's not exactly a word you come across every day.
No.
However, comma, it should be.
Right.
Because, so I love the word opportunity, right?
Yes.
But, you know, with that word, every day is an opportunity. I would say to be on the precipice.
Yes. You're so, yes.
So if you let yourself, if you take over that opportunity and accept the power of that opportunity that you have, you're on the precipice of something great.
Always.
But if you let that opportunity slip and you don't take advantage of the opportunity, then you're not on that precipice. So I feel like at the end of the day, it's all about accepting and recognizing your strength, power, worth, confidence, so you can consistently be on that precipice.
And let me tell you why.
Come on.
So I went skydiving I went with my best friend. It was his birthday. And the whole time, everybody is like, I told a few people and they were like, oh my gosh, aren't you nervous? And I was like, no, I think I'm okay. And so
hold on. Let's paint this picture.
Okay.
Because you just said, so I went skydiving with my best friend,
Right.
No. Let's paint this picture. So you went to said facility.
Yes.
And said facility gave said guidelines, boundaries.
Yes.
Okay. We're still here. Yes. You had to sign your name somewhere, I'm assuming.
Oh yeah, insurance don't. You could get hurt. Yeah.
You had to sign. Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
After said signing gave more instruction.
Yep.
And so real quick, for the viewers, we haven't talked about this. I'm just putting myself in this situation. Yep. Okay. Your boy has not gone skydiving. And I'm not exactly sure if it's on my syllabus, but besides the point, nevertheless. Then after that, you got instead aircraft.
We got garmented up. You get put on the harness, and we walk to said airplane. We're like crammed together, and the instructor is talking to me. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna do this, cool. And then when we get to the edge of the plane, the precipice at the door, you're going to do this. And I was just like, cool. So I had to like tuck put my chin up and hold on to these straps. And I was just like, cool. I am calm the entire time. We're flying up, and I don't like planes. I like traveling. I do not like takeoff. That's what I should say. Takeoff is my least favorite part of flying. And so we're taking off to 13,000 feet in the air. So he's whispering to me, not whispering, he's actually yelling because we can hear everything. It's not like a nice little seated plane, it's like a cargo plane. So
you're not exactly flying first class in this situation.
No, not at all.
Okay.
And so we get to the precipice, the door. I am looking 13,000 feet down, and I'm still calm until we jump.
Wow.
When we jump, it's like one of those movies where you see the person jump and then it's silent and then the action music starts and it's like dun 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 dun, and it's like that's what happened to me. I was just like, it was quiet and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm jumping. And then all of a sudden I'm hit with resistance of the wind and it's like and in that moment I was just like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Can do anything. Yes, this is scary. Yes, I am enjoying this. And I had really bad motion sickness and I was like, yes, I want to get to the end of this. But the dedication I had from the time we got into the plane to the time I hit the ground made me realize I have to start at the bottom. I have to work my way up to the top.
Mm.
The middle part is all the things at once. It's beautiful, it's hard, it's difficult, it's nauseating. It let me know my boundaries that I had. It made me realize like, wow, this is actually really beautiful. And I was so happy I got to share it with somebody. And it was all the things in my life that I realized I still am on the journey. I have done this several times before, and how exhilarating it was. Like, it doesn't really hit you until days later, like what you did.
So I have to stop you, okay?
Okay.
Because you're giving us a hard time here. Let me explain why. All right.
Okay.
So you told us that you weren't nervous until you jumped off the plane.
Yeah.
And then you said, all of a sudden you jumped off, nothing, and then action music, okay?
Right.
And then, woof, like wave of wind resistance, okay? And then you got into that mindset of what we were feeling, and we were all there with you. And then you said that it didn't hit you until a few days later.
Yeah.
So I want to bring us back.
Okay.
I want to bring it. Hold on. I'm going to the side. I'm being rude to the audience. I want to bring us back.
Okay.
Okay. We're still in the air.
Yes, we're still in the air.
And tell me about like the slowing down piece, and then after that, the landing.
So the beautiful part is when you jump, you don't really know what to expect. But the first 2 seconds is kind of like being on a roller coaster when you go down the hill. So your stomach drops.
Love coasters.
Yes, I do too. And it's like your stomach drops for just a couple seconds. But then when you're hit with the wind resistance, you realize you're not going to fall as fast as you thought. And so my instructor is like doing spins with me and we're flipping in the air.
Oh.
And I to enjoy the view. And I was like, wow, this is remarkable that this is now a thing that I get to do. And so I'm slowly, it is fast, but it feels slowly descending down to the ground. And yeah, it was a very exhilarating feeling because you can't really hear anything. All you hear is that's really all you hear. And the instructor's yelling at you like, open your arms. And it's like, show me. And you're just like, and you're trying to breathe. And it's really, it's funny because it's not cute at all.
Right.
Don't ever try to go skydiving thinking it can be a sexy experience. It is
All
not.
right.
Yeah.
So skydiving doesn't exactly set the mood. Okay, noted for the audience.
No, not at all. But yeah, it was a beautiful like fluctuation of fast pace, slow pace. Move, and then when the parachute is released, you're moving even slower now.
Okay.
And you're still like, and then you get to control the wind a little differently than when you did when you were just free diving. And so then we got to float. So I got to control the sail, and you have to like push really hard because gravity is working against you, and also air, that resistance. So I got to like fly the sails, and then he showed me this trick where we just got to float, and then it got quiet again. And so we are floating, and it was just like we were still for a second. I got to enjoy the view of the ocean and the mountains, and I was just like, wow, this is a power. This is a force. I am a part of that. Like, I am so significant, also so insignificant, but what I can do with both is so beautiful. And I got that all from skydiving.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you went on that adventure, okay?
Yes.
And you mentioned how exhilarating, how freeing, but also met with even some resistance, okay? And you took a lot of different lessons there, all right? Now, you had that experience. Let's bring this back to your daily/professional life.
Yeah.
Okay. And now we're not talking about the opportunities that have been emailed and asked for you to do, but yet the resistance of being at an audition. All right. And so now you're at an audition, and there's several other people there. When you're in audition, what's going through your head? But more importantly, what do you want to make sure the talent evaluators want to get from you?
Anytime I walk into an audition, I am letting them know who I am and what I bring to the table. And so I want to show them the best version of myself for whatever role I am auditioning for. And so for me, it's really important to just be myself, because I don't want to show up there not being myself, or not a version of myself that isn't authentic. And so whenever I have an audition, one of my favorite auditions actually is the one that got me my biggest gig yet. And it simply asked the question of, it's like, you have to slate. So you have to say your name, height, where you live, blah, blah, blah. It's like a very general introduction. And then they usually ask a character question. Even in in-person auditions, they ask a character question. And usually it's like, what'd you do today that brought you joy? Or what do you like to do for fun? Or this was my favorite. And sometimes they're just random. If a zombie apocalypse happened, how would you be like the best person to like go through this journey with? And I was like, oh, I like this question a lot.
Yeah.
And so it's like they get to see you light up like, oh, she can do this role. And so for me, I was like, I love cooking. I know how to wield the knife. I'm clumsy, but don't get the knife thing. And so it's like, I'm just having a conversation with them, and it's just like, oh my gosh, she's so cute. She's so quirky. And that's what I want people to see. I want to have fun in everything I do. And I want that to be displayed. So I try to do that in the most authentic way.
You know, I don't think so. I need to emphasize this for a second. Okay. Authenticity is something that I on a daily basis want to make sure that I'm exuding, but more importantly, like I should say more importantly, but equally as much, everybody who listens to what we're talking about here recognizes and understands how important it is. And so the fact that you took this question and didn't pick a specific quality, you just said, I just want them to know that I'm my authentically myself, and authentically myself is enough.
Yeah.
And let the chips fall where they fall. Let things happen how they happen. As long as I am authentically me, I'm cool.
Yeah. And that, for me, that's what works. It's because that's who you're going to be hiring, even if I'm playing another character. It's like the character is going to live through me. So I'm just going to pull those aspects of myself so that that character can shine. And that's all I want to do, is I just want to tell the truth for that thing authentically.
So let me just make sure that I'm not a math person.
Okay.
But I'm going to use a math type of equation, okay? Or let's not say equation, let's say a law, let's say. Would you say the answer to resistance is authenticity?
Ooh, the answer to resistance is authenticity. Yeah, I would say that's definitely a variable in that equation, because if you are not being authentic to yourself when met with resistance and being honest and truthful,
come on now,
it's not going to work. It's not going to work.
It's not gonna work.
Because your body doesn't lie. Your actions don't lie. And your authenticity doesn't lie. You sometimes don't have to know a person to know that their actions and their words aren't matching, because you can see it, you can feel it.
Yeah.
That's very important. And I'm learning even through acting, because it's like, you can tell when an actor's not being authentic, because it just shows. It shows in their body, it shows in the way they're saying things. And it doesn't sound like they're being truthful in the moment. And so that's something that I'm always aspiring to be in my work, but also in my life, so that it shows up in my work.
Right, right.
So
go ahead.
No, I was going to say that equation is very much so accurate.
Okay, all right. So the answer to resistance is authenticity. Let the record show, state, let's put it in the minutes. All right.
Yes.
The answer to resist. See, this is what we do on the channel. Not only I am Vision of Hope, but we are Vision of Hope. However, we are all uniquely ourselves, authentically. And so the answer to any resistance is being your authentic self. Love it.
Yes.
Love it. Awesome. So now I hope you didn't think that we were gonna just let it slip when you said, oh, like my greatest gig, I had this question, okay? Because now the people want to know, all right? And I'm all about giving the people what they want. So we gotta give the people what they want, okay?
Okay.
So tell us, so this gig that you stated, what was that? You know, what was the mindset you had to get into to be successful for that role? Tell us about that.
So this year, I actually was in a Super Bowl commercial for eToro, and they are a digital trading app, which is pretty cool. They deal with like digital currencies and things of that matter, which was a huge deal. And so the audition process for that was what I was stating earlier, where I had a self-tape that I had to submit, and they asked a character question, and I loved the question so much, and I was so quirky in it that I got a call back. And in the callback, they asked me to imagine one of my really good friends flying by my window, and I just like didn't know what was going on. And so I had a friend in mind, because he is crazy enough to be that person who would fly by my window. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I realized in the moment the authenticity that I had to have, and I didn't care about what they thought of it. I just was like, I'm going to show them me, and if they like it, great. If they don't think I'm a good fit, good luck to that person. And so I went into it not really caring about the outcome, but really just being in the moment and being present and having fun in that moment. And I left that, funny enough, I left that audition being like, that was funny. They laughed at me. And I hope I hope I made them smile. And that was really all I thought. I was just like, they laughed. They thought it was cute. I did my job. And then like a week later, they were like, hey, you booked it. I didn't even know it was a Super Bowl commercial though, until my second day on set, when like one of the BTS guys was like, congratulations. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, I'm so happy for everybody. This is an amazing experience. Like, and he was like, no, you're like the lead in a Super Bowl commercial. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And I text my agent and I was like, did you know? And she was like, did you read the contract? And I was like, yeah, I read it. I just skipped over that part.
Right. Right. We'll have to put that in the description, the commercial.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's gotten millions of views. And the hardest part about that was keeping it a secret. And I couldn't tell anybody. And I was like, well, they're gonna find it. If they see it, they see it. If they don't, they don't. And the moment it went live, my phone went crazy, like my Instagram was going crazy, and it was just like this moment of like, I can finally speak on it, because I was really scared about signing NDAs and stuff, so I just didn't say anything.
Well, and it's so funny because we had just hung out.
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, there's some things happening, and and then it was a thing, and it was just amazing. So,
because it was literally a week later after we hung out that happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
God. So
I kept it to myself. Go.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So, we talked about several different things, and I don't want to. It just seems like you're on the precipice of so many amazing things, and we all look forward to what the future is for you. Now, when we're talking about the Super Bowl commercial, and then we had hung out, and you were here. I live in Arizona. For the people who don't know, I'm here in Arizona.
Yes.
And we touched a little bit on your degree in fibers, and you also create your own jewelry. And in Arizona, we have something called the Gem Show, which kind of what brought you here, and like jewelry. And so aside from the modeling and the acting, you also create your own jewelry. Can you tell us about that and where people can find that?
Sure. So one, I have a jewelry line coming out in October. Really excited. It is called Reece Ford, and you can find it at Reece Ford Shop on Instagram. Yes.
All right. Description, people. It'll be there.
It is a huge love of mine. And it's like what brings me peace. But really, it's all about intention for me. So I work with a lot of gemstones, which did bring me to Tucson. And I was so happy because I also got to see you. But I work with a lot of intentionality. And so I pick out stones, I pick out things that bring me joy. And I just want to share that joy for every body. That's what I always say, is like, my jewelry is for every body. There isn't a gender attached to it. If you feel emboldened enough to wear it, it is for you. If it speaks to you, it is for you. And it started with my degree. I created this necklace when I was in my fibers class, and it was supposed to be an abstract basket. Actually, I was learning how to coil, which is a traditional way of basket making. And I took it home because we have homework in college. And and as I was there about to make a basket, my teachers always got on me because they were like, you always try to make what you have, like my art, I always tried to make it functional. And I was just like, why can't I be a functional artist? And they were like, well, you should just try to make art for art's sake. And I was just like, that for me sound boring. So I made this necklace and everybody in my class went bananas for it. And for me, it was just like my creativity being unleashed. And that was the precipice of my greatness, because I was like, ooh, I think I'm onto something.
Come on.
And then like a week later, I had a friend who started her own jewelry company. And she's like, I want you guys to pick a piece and I want you to just like be my walking advertisement. And I got a little envious in that moment. And I was just like, if she can do this, I can definitely do this. And that was 12 years ago. So I've been jewelry making ever since. And it is a love of mine that I used to keep to myself and I would give as gifts and things like that. But lately, a lot of my friends and family and supporters have been like, it's a little selfish of you to keep this to yourself, because something like this actually deserves to be shared with the world. And I've just been so afraid because I was like, oh, what if somebody steals my designs? And what if people don't like it? And I've made all of these excuses up. And this is one of those instances where I had to pick up my ego off the floor. And I was like, we're going to figure this out. We're going to walk to the door of this airplane and we're going to jump out of it. And it's going to be your birthday gift to yourself. Because I know this is scary, but you're going to figure it out just like you've been figuring everything else out. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to launch it. But it's really jewelry with intentionality and love that is for everybody.
That's amazing. That's amazing. You know, those what if questions, if they like it, they don't, you know, what that hinders is your future, what you're on the precipice on, right? And so in those moments, you got to give yourself grace. You
do. You really do. My mom, on the other hand, she calls me, she's like, you know, you're sitting on all this. Everything you want in life is you're hindering yourself because it's all in your jewelry. I'm a firm believer that the life you want is beyond you being afraid to sell your jewelry. And I was just like, she is right to a degree, because I'm not living to my full potential if I'm not even trying to share this with the world.
Come on, Mom. Come on, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Wow. We've touched on so much. We've touched on so much. You know, when you talk about art and your creativity and fibers, and I told you before, I'm gonna tell you again, I'm gonna buy a few pairs of some all white sneakers and send them over to you and be like, Reece, do you?
Okay, I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right. Sounds good. But when we talk about that creativity and we're talking about the modeling, we're talking about the acting, the fibers, the jewelry, keyword I'm thinking about, art. When I say the word art, what does that mean to you? And how does the word art even make you feel?
Every time I think about art, I smile, truly, because for me, it's a form of rebellion. Okay. It's a piece. It's a form of telling a story.
Rebellion, peace, story. Okay.
Yeah, I think that art is such a powerful thing because it has no bounds, truly. Just like a lot of things in our life, but art truly has no bounds. It can express itself in any form it feels like. And it does it sometimes unapologetically. And I find something about that so fascinating and so inspiring, that somebody can have an idea in their head and it translates through a medium that is whether it be digital, whether it be jewelry, whether it be paint, multimedia, film. It's like, wow, art is its own world that we get to live in from time to time. But right now, art is bringing me joy and peace.
Mm.
I do with all the art forms that all the mediums that I use brings me peace. Like, I get to silence out everything and just focus on putting love and intention into this thing that I'm creating.
That's powerful to me, because when and it's just, you put me in when I ask people about the words, it puts me in a mindset of the journey we're going to go on for the podcast, right? And when I asked you about the word art, and I talked about giving yourself grace and the word precipice, I had this overwhelming feeling when you were speaking on art that you didn't have to look for the grace. It was just there.
Yeah. It's the one place I can go and know that it's going to be given to me. I don't have to ask for grace when I'm in the art world, period. Because it's a part of the journey in art, is giving yourself grace. Because sometimes I have an idea in my head that I think looks great, and then I go to make it and it doesn't translate the same. And the beautiful part about it is I get to start over. Try something new. I get to add, take away whatever I want, and I'm still making art, and I'm not failing at it. And so there's a lot of grace that art allows you to have that sometimes you don't get in other environments, but art is very gracious. It can be very gracious.
Wow. That's power right there. That's power.
It is, and that's one of my favorite things about it.
That's power. So, wow, we've dove into several different concepts, and I hope everybody's taken away something from this. I know that I have. But once again, I have to bring us back and want to wrap a bow on this conversation and ask the question, when we talk about the 3 words that brought you to where you are now, what are 3 more words that's going to define where your future is going and what that looks like for you?
Okay, so for me, we used precipice, grace, routine. That was the 3rd word?
Routine, we did.
I was like, I had to question mark that, because that one came up, but I didn't actually use the word. You just kind of heard.
Yeah, it didn't really, I would say, and not that language is important. So I don't want to say that routine didn't have power. Right. However, I would debate that the main part of the routine is the actively thinking about the precipice and grace.
Yeah, I agree. So when I think about those words for where, like, from then till now, from now until then, I will say releasing, boldness, and to be excited. And the reason why is because it kind of brings me back to when I jumped out of the plane for skydiving. That is it's a bold choice. It's a bold choice. You're risking so much. And I would hope that people are excited. And the funny thing is, it's like when right before I was supposed to go, there was a guy who had to be in his 80s. Who had just finished. And he walked through with the biggest smile on his face. And I was just like, what? It was so cool to me. So I was just like, I have to be bold. I have to take these risks. I have to be able to jump. I already forgot my second word. What did I say? I said, look, I love these things. I'm gonna choose. Okay, so I said I have to be bold.
I'm not gonna tell you. I remember your words.
You do? Okay.
I'm gonna let you finish.
Okay. So
Beyonce had one of the great. I'm playing. But I'm gonna let you finish.
okay.
Go ahead.
I would say for me that's one. The second one, for some reason, I'm drawing a blank on all of a sudden. But my last one is being excited because I love what I do. And just like when I spoke about art, I lit up. I want that to be a part of every aspect of what I do, is I want to be excited about it. And acting especially, because, and my friend just reminded me earlier today, we take ourselves so seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And acting is a form of play. And I play with, yes, it's a form of play. So it's like, if we're playing cops and robbers, we all know how to play cops and robbers. And it's those bold choices and being colorful with those choices that we make that make what we do so great. And so for some reason, my second word just escaped me. I was so excited to get to the last word.
So it's funny because bold was your second word that you said.
Really?
It was. You said to be excited. We're gonna get rid of to be. Yes. We're just gonna say excited. Okay.
Okay.
And the first word,
yes,
was release.
Oh my gosh, it was release. It was it was release. Oh gosh. I'm human. It happens. I was so excited to get to the second and third. But for me, release,
you were so excited.
I was so excited.
You were so bold and ready to be excited.
Exactly.
You forgot about the release.
I forgot about the release.
It took you to be bold.
Exactly. Amen. Pastor. Yes.
Come on.
But yeah, release for me is because we work with our egos every day. We work with feeding the positive and negatives in our life all the time. That is going to be an ongoing thing. And so for me, it's releasing the idea of, sometimes I release the idea of what I want to do, who I want to be, and just walk the faith, walk in faith and walk the path, and just trust that what I want, I am catching up to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Chris, I when you say that walk by faith piece, it does start to make me think about just being honest. And for those listening and viewers and everything like that, I became blind at the age of 16. And so when we talk about that movement in life and what that's going to look like and not too sure what next looks like,
mm-hmm.
I had to recognize that authenticity was so important to recognize, because I thought that authentically me didn't exist, but my sight didn't define who I was.
Yes.
And so once I recognized that, I was back to my authentic self, which we talked about earlier is the solution to any resistance.
Yes, it really is. When you accept yourself where you are for who you are, the walking part gets a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
Because no, we don't know. But guess what? I'm going to make sure I have fun the entire time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It's, and that fun and that acting, and you mentioned that that's just like a play, spoke to me. Conversation for another time, but back in the day, back in my prime, I did a little bit of acting.
Okay.
Okay,
we got to talk about that.
But conversation for another time. We'll definitely have to bring you back, Reece.
Okay.
But we talk about those three words for sure. Any final thoughts? You left us with some very strong things to think about. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Yes, it's one of my new favorite sayings is don't forget to breathe. I think that a a lot in life, we get so caught up in just the chaos of it all, and we stop breathing. And because we're just so filled with angst, anxiety, emotions, and so for me, when I know I'm starting to become a little overwhelmed, I just have to breathe. And sometimes we forget that, and it's so funny because sometimes when my friends come to me and they vent, I literally just, it's going to be okay, like, I understand. And sometimes that's like all a person needs. It's just to remind them to breathe. So don't forget to breathe.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Reece, we're so excited, so happy to have had you today. Where can people find your content? Where do they have to look? And what's next? Let us know. Where do we find you?
Okay. You can find me on Instagram at It's Reece Ford. Yes. And please feel free to reach out. I love talking to people. So DM me, say hi, whatever you feel. And also the shop is coming. It's Reece Ford shop, or Reece Ford shop is what it is. Sorry.
It'll be in the description.
Okay, great. Yes, all of that will be available to you all. The shop will be opening in October, and I'm really excited about that. Facebook, Reece Ford, all of that. Yeah, that's where you can find me. What's next? I have a lot of things. I'm on the precipice of a lot of things. So definitely be on the lookout for those, because I'll be making announcements when I can. But I'm always doing something. I always tell my friends, you will probably see what I'm doing before I will, because I'm always working on something, and then I'm on to the next thing. And the people are like, I saw you on this. And I'm like, oh yeah, I did do that. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, everyone, we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Speak Your Vision podcast.
Yes.
And remember, not only I am Vision of Hope, but we are Vision of Hope. Everybody, have a great rest of your day. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.
When adversity came, I could have fell apart, but I chose instead to follow my heart. When adversity comes, I will never run. I will adjust, adapt, and overcome. Vision.